Welcome into Embrace Debate, your spot for all things Carolina Panthers, debate and topics here on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by Cody Lachney from the Carolina Cat Chronicles. We're supposed to have Monty Fetti. We can't find him. We don't know where Monty is. So if you have seen Monty, we let him know that we are looking for him and are hoping he's going to pull through. What's going on, Cody?
What's up, man? Hey, I don't blame him. He didn't want this work on a Friday morning, so it's all good, man.
He's around. I saw you. He was just on Twitter like 20 minutes ago, so he may have forgotten that we had decided to do this today at 10:30.
We'll do what to do. It's a good day. Julius Peppers is in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, he is.
We got a brand new head coach, man. I'm happy. I'm happy to do it, man.
We'll get into all those topics here while we're here this morning. We'll get into Julius Peppers. Shout out to Julius Peppers, the first Carolina Panther drafted by the Panthers to be selected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He became a finalist late last night, so shout out to him. We'll get into Pep in just a second. We'll talk about Dan Morgan. We'll talk about Dave Canales, who's been making the rounds through the media the past week or so, and we'll start to get into the roster a little bit too. I want to first of all, let me address the crowd. If you follow me on Twitter, please unfollow the DZ_3505 handle. If you don't know by now, my account got compromised and some kind of Bitcoin spam bot thing started spamming out stuff out of that handle. So I had to make a new handle right here, Des Johnson _3505. So please follow me over there. That's actually my official account. The old one that I had is I no longer have access to it. Apparently nobody works at Twitter. It's all automated. So nobody's helping me out here. So if you followed me over there, please unfollow that one and follow me at Des Johnson _3505. Cody, let's just hop into it here with Pep.
Sure.
Panthers. If you're watching and listening in the audience, you can participate in the debate as well. Help us out because we can't find money. You can put your comments, questions, debate topics over in the Facebook or the YouTube feed, and it'll pop up for us to read live on the air. We'll be able to react to it. Panthers defensive end Julius Peppers nominated as a Pro Football Hall of Fame finalist. Is Pep a top 5 defensive end of all time?
Yeah, I do believe so. And maybe I'm biased because, I'm a Panther fan. But I mean, listen, if you look at the guy that just won Defensive Player of the Year last night, Myles Garrett, right? Julius Peppers was Myles Garrett before Myles Garrett. Bigger than you, faster than you, stronger than you. He could intercept the ball and take it for a pick six all the way to the house. Like, the dude's incredible. The first player ever with 100 sacks and I believe 10 interceptions. That's wild. It doesn't even sound like a real number.
Yeah.
Again, I think that Julius Peppers is definitely one of the best players, certainly to ever play for the Panthers. And in my opinion, he is a top 5 defensive end of all time. I know there's a lot of names, but dude, I don't think they compare to what Pep could do physically.
I mean, just looking at his stats below, 553 solo tackles, 159.5 sacks. That's 4th all time. Oh, bless me. Excuse me. 51 forced fumbles, 11 interceptions. I mean, I'm trying to think of a couple that would be before him.
Dwight Free was also he was in there last night. I don't know. I don't know if I could name 4 better than him. How about that?
I'm sorry, I'm like sneezing. I don't know what's going on there.
Okay?
Trying to catch my voice. Our boy Monty popped into the house. What's going on, Monty?
What's going on, fellas? How are y'all doing today?
We're good, brother. We're good. We had to go ahead and hop on those people waiting in the thing. But first topic still. Defensive end Julius Peppers nominated as a Pro Football Hall of Fame finalist last night. First Carolina Panther drafted by the franchise to be selected to the Hall of Fame. First ballot Hall of Famer. In your mind, is Pep a top 5 defensive end of all time?
Absolutely. I'm probably, I guess it's easy to say I'm biased, because I'm a Panther fan here. But yeah, I kind of caught the back end of y'all's conversation. Yeah, I don't think I can name 5 better than Pep, especially at his prime. And he's went on to do it for 3 different, franchises there. I think he definitely would be top 5, just from the longevity part of it and, just the production as well. Yeah, absolutely. Shoot in for top 5.
I was trying to think. Okay, so I'll bite. I'll try to name. So Reggie White, Bruce Smith,
Now, would you put LT in that category, or because he's an outside linebacker, you wouldn't?
No, I'd put him as a
Okay.
Actually, were they playing a 3-4?
I mean, he was like,
outside linebacker.
he was outside. Yeah, he was outside linebacker. But
No, I think I would take just a straight up defensive end.
Yeah.
Although Peppers played outside linebacker too for part of his
Yeah.
career in Green Bay and Chicago. So that's a good question, actually.
It-
I think I kind of would put LT in there.
Michael Strahan.
See, now we're getting to the nitty gritty. Like, would you rather have Strahan? Or would you rather
Yeah.
have Pep?
See,
You know,
I
it's like,
mean,
you know,
I'd probably take. I'd probably take Pep over
I gotta
Strahan.
take that too.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Oh, here we
I guess
go.
That's that 5, 6, 7 level, like right there, right? I guess because Strahan's up there too. I only said Bruce Smith and Reggie White. Who am I forgetting?
Yeah, Bruce Smith, Reggie White.
There's a couple I'm forgetting. Let me go look at.
That's
the
what I'm
sack list.
saying. Like when you think of just pure edge, I mean, like just pass rushers, LT comes up. You know, like I know he's not an edge per se, but
Kevin Green. Well, he's a sack. Well, he's an outside
that's
linebacker.
another Panther.
Yeah, he's
but he was big as hell though. Didn't he play some edge?
I think he was an outside. He was an outside linebacker because remember he was in that group that we had with him and Lamar Lathan, Sam Mills when we were running 3-4, 96. I'm looking through the history of sack leaders. Bruce Smith number 1, Reggie White 2, Kevin Green number 3, Julius Peppers 4. Actually, Pep only missed Kevin Green by half a sack. Damn. Chris Dolman 5, Strahan 6, Jason Taylor 7, Terrell Suggs 8. Then you get to like DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah, that's another name you forget about too. DeMarcus Ware. Now, what about now? Okay, hold on. What about like a JJ Watt? He plays like a more like a 5 tech and a 3-4, but still, he's
Yeah,
top
I
5 all
Watt
time
as a tackle though. Like you said, I mean, he does play. I mean, but him and like even Aaron Donald, you know, because you can even make the argument Aaron Donald is going to be looked at as a pass rusher as well. But you know, they more were interior defensive tackle in my opinion, or even interior defensive lineman than I look as a sole pass rusher.
Yeah, and most of the guys on this list, now that I'm looking at it, are outside linebackers. It looks like once you get past like the top 5, Chris Dolman was ranked so high. He's number 5. Yeah, I think say he's top 5. He's a top 5 out here.
yeah.
So I can't think of no. So I'm happy for him. I'm glad he came back to Carolina.
I mean, if you look up a list,
didn't he have like 11 sacks his last year or something like that?
Yeah, like 10 or 11. If you look up like top defensive ends of all time, most of them are from like the 60s and 70s, and before the current era. I mean,
Jones
but like I said, he's top 5 to me because he represents what every GM from now until the end of time is going to want in that position: the size, the strength, the speed, the athleticism. He represents the total package, man. So even if some of those guys were better statistically, bro, and Julius Peppers is him.
He's the only person still to this day that's played in an NCAA Final Four and a Super Bowl. So I mean, he's a freak. 6'6". The only player I can think of stature wise, like that could stand beside Cam Newton and not look small, was Julius Peppers.
Yeah,
like in terms of he just got a country boy, just like you know the ones that they don't lift weights, but
country strong, man. They grew up throwing bales of hay around, moving
the pigs around like in the afternoon, get them in the bay or whatever. He's like one of those dudes from Eastern North Carolina. Let me move on to the next topic here, and that is actually our new head coach, Dave Canales. I've been really impressed with this dude. I wasn't expecting to be as impressed with him as early as I've been. But what has impressed you the most so far about head coach Dave Canales? Because he's been making the rounds. He's been on Up and Adams. He's been on NFL Live. He's been all over the place actually, and he seems really genuine. Genuine's probably the best word to describe him. Like he just seems like he just can't wait to get his day started. Like he's just so excited to do what he does. What do you think, Cody? We've had a couple of weeks now to kind of see what this guy's really about. What what's impressed you the most so far about Dave Canales?
Yeah, I've been liking Dave Canales. And, I've been saying this a while back since before we hired the coach that you should have really been open-minded to more than one candidate, right? Because people were talking Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick. And in the back of my mind, I just felt like that was never going to happen, right? So a lot of people, when they originally heard that Dave Canales was hired as the head coach, they were not too happy, Monty. But I've been happy with it because I know the one thing that got him hired, right? It's that ability to turn around the quarterback position. He did it with Geno Smith. Nobody thought Geno Smith was a franchise quarterback, and now he's Seattle's guy. Everyone, including us in Panther fandom, thought Baker Mayfield was basic. He's just whatever. And then he goes out and has a great season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On top of all of that, he seems like the type of guy, we were wanting a culture builder, someone that can bring that culture back to the Carolinas. Well, he has the type of attitude and mindset that I feel can do that. And I think he's a great coach. He's an offensive-minded head coach. I'm hoping that we got him a year early. So I think Dave Canales could have been the Ben Johnson of next year's coaching cycle, if that makes sense,
No, yeah, totally.
Yeah, kind of jumped on that train a little bit early. I like it. I like the hire. I like his attitude. He has that young, fresh energy. I'm for it, man. I like it.
Monty, what are your thoughts on Dave? Because I've really seen the fan base online really lean into this hire a lot quicker than I expected them to, us included. I think we were skeptical at first, but it really only took to do like a day or so of talking for us to kind of be like, okay, this is different. This is different than what they've tried before. And to Cody's point, I think he's right. I think they're about a year ahead on him. What are your thoughts on Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I think as time goes on, as we get more information, I think a lot more fans are embracing him more. I am kind of, I really do like the hire now. I have kind of grown on to the hire, or me liking the hire as well. I am kind of, skeptical just about the whole process in general. I kind of want to see what we're going to do in free agency. But like you said, man, everything that you see from him, from, NFL Live and, every interview that you see, he seems real. And again, genuine is the best word for it. Just seems more real, genuine, real down to earth, but real excited to be here and real, excited to start a new era here in Carolina. And I'm all for it. I think getting a young offensive guy to pair with Bryce, if we can get some weapons, like I said, I do want to see what we're going to do in free agency. But if we can definitely, get some weapons for Bryce, it could be, we could definitely have got him a year early. And I think that's a good way to phrase it as well, Cody. We could have definitely got, a very high end, head coach here a year early, and then that's only going to be beneficial for Bryce here in the future. So yeah, I'm all for it. Definitely want to see what the future holds before I'm all in. I think we've doubled down, or a lot of fans have doubled down on coaches before, and it just hasn't worked. So I want to see what happens next, but I'm excited.
He's a complete contrast to Frank Wright to me. Thinking back in hindsight, at this point last year when they were introducing Frank and we're kind of getting to know Frank, it feels like we can talk ourselves into Frank Wright. Like at that point, like almost not resigned to it, but we were just like, well, he did play for Carolina. Well, he does live in Charlotte. This could work possibly.
Yeah, and he was a football guy.
Yeah, he was a football guy
versus rule.
Yeah, so we were like, all right, let's see what happens. But if you from day other than his hair color, he didn't really change. Like his demeanor didn't change at all from like day one to the very end. He was kind of the same even keel, just wait, things will be better kind of type of approach to it. Where Canales like attacks the day. You know what I mean? Like what can we do to be better today so that tomorrow we can be better than today? Like that kind of stuff. Like
it's like the difference between proactive and reactive.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, getting out ahead of it and making the proper changes before you're forced to do so.
I like that because the ones that we were getting attached to, Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, what happened with both of them? They both went back to their teams. So like, can you imagine if we had been putting all our chips on the table for Ben Johnson, and then Ben Johnson goes back to Detroit for a second year, and we miss out on everyone? Like, we get nobody, or like.
And we were already trying to dispel the rumors that he that he went back to Detroit not because of Carolina, right? If he were to do it 2 years in a row, that'd have been That would have been wild. I
Same
think we
with
dodged
Slow.
the bullet. I mean, I know he's wanting to win the Super Bowl with the Lions. I think we dodged the bullet, man. I think Johnson's kind of revealed himself a little bit.
I heard he's not a good interview, and that's part of the reason why he's been pulling himself back out after the first interviews. The teams just weren't really impressed with him. Like he's not like a quote leader of men. Like some of the teams will follow through a brick wall, and and he's saving face by just going back to Detroit. With Slowick, I don't know exactly the situation there, but I was worried about Slowick being it more. He had CJ Stroud to play with as opposed to and pieces around CJ Stroud, so it made him look better than he would have say Bobby Slowick was the offensive coordinator here last year. Like with what he had to work with, would he be getting head coaching opportunities? That kind of thing. So I wasn't really too sold on either one of them. I didn't know a whole lot about Dave Canales, to be honest, but one of my friends that works with me as a Tampa Bay fan. And was like, if you guys get Dave Canales, you're getting a good one. Like everything I've heard about him, some positive from players, people around him, that just he's a good guy. And I like the continuity. For once, we finally have a general manager and a head coach in the same cycle, locked in, ready to go. We have not had that since Ron Rivera and Marty Herney, if I'm not mistaken. Like when they got hired in 2010, that's the last time we hired both in the same cycle. So it's new. It's different.
And we did it right. We hired the GM before we hired the head coach.
Yeah, usually we do just one and hold on to the other, and it usually never works. But with this, them knowing each other coming in, it feels like they might have got this right. And that's weird to say. That's really weird to say for the Panthers that they might have got something right. But it does kind of appear that they may have. Let's talk about the other part of that. Because I kind of count them as a tandem now, and that's General Manager Dan Morgan, former Panther linebacker great Dan Morgan. And I'm sure his name's going to pop up. I'll drop it here, but the Believe in Panthers pod, we decided we're going to build an ultimate 52-man Panther roster in the offseason and let the fans vote on all the positions. So keep an eye out on that from our social media. People will go in and vote on 2 or 3 linebackers, a couple quarterbacks, that kind of thing, and we'll reveal them each week throughout the offseason with me and Skylar and Jay Stu. With Dan Morgan, there's a lot of holes in this roster, fellas. Monty, which part of the roster should General Manager Dan Morgan focus on first, in your mind?
It's like you said, we have. You got to take a deep breath before you process.
Yeah, it's like where?
It's I don't know. I mean, I'll say either pass rusher or offensive line. And reason why I say that, or because I think depending on, I think T. Higgins is either going to go back to Cincinnati or going to get a big contract somewhere else. I think you're going to organically fall into a receiver. I think receiver is going to be addressed in the draft. I would like us to add a pass rusher and add some depth on the offensive line, though. I know we're getting guys back healthy. If we can get a guy like Calvin Ridley, on a discount, because I believe he's not going to be as expensive as everybody thinks. I think that's going to be huge, and then you're going to have to double down in free agency with receiver. But yeah, man, I would love us to get another, somebody opposite Brian Burns, or if Brian Burns isn't here, we got to get somebody to, to fill that void with another hole that will create there. And I also feel like that you got to add some more depth to the offensive line, man. You got to protect Bryce Young. So I think those kind of maybe the first 2 priorities. You got to start with the trenches first and then work your way out. But, other than, those are your first 2, and then you got to get some weapons. I feel like those are kind of be your 2 things that, and then, no way to add dogs, then you got to add dogs on the trenches first. And I think that's kind of your priority, in my opinion. But yeah, those would be my 2 or top 3 priorities.
Cody, same thing. What part of the roster should General Manager Dan Morgan focus on first?
Bro, low key, it might be left tackle. Straight
might
up.
Be.
It might be left tackle, man. Look, I know I'm a believer that Brady Christensen could play the spot, but I kind of think that that's too far down the road for anyone to actually do it. So, Tyron Smith is going to be your free agent at left tackle. He's long in the tooth, getting older. But so was Andrew Whitworth when he went from the Bengals to the Rams. So maybe that's a move. Again, like I know everybody talks about T. Higgins. I would love that so much, man. I'm a Clemson fan. Like I watched him and Trevor win a championship for my Clemson Tigers. And I think that would be a great receiver for Bryce. Like, okay, T's down there somewhere. I'm going to get it up there to him. I think that would be perfect for him. A wide receiver in the draft and in free agency, I think would do us good. And then the offensive line, this is where like I can kind of be swayed either way, right? Like it's a bit of a conundrum to me. Because on one hand, you could say, well, we had so many injuries on the O-line this year that it was impossible to have any type of, continuity when you're constantly replacing your two guards. I think that maybe if we get some guys back healthy, we could be better. But at some point, I do think that you need to build up your depth along the O-line. And, nothing is more important right now than building around Bryce. You have to know what you have in him as a quarterback, because right now we don't. So put him in a system to succeed, put weapons around him, and really just build up your O-line.
Yeah. The problem with the offensive line is that some of them are already locked in for a couple of years, right? Then we signed Bozeman to an extension. Moten's going to be here for a little bit.
The only one that's on Christensen's on the last year of his deal. Corbett, I believe, has.
I think Corbett extended last year, didn't he? Right, for at least a couple of years. And then Icky's on his rookie deal. So I don't know what you can. Yeah. See, the thing is, we never saw him healthy. We never saw the offensive line from the year prior completely healthy.
No.
Like, really, I mean, Christian got hurt game one that night. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot in the air with that. And I like what Canales said about somebody asked him straight up, like, hey, your line is a power run line. Last year, they decided not to do that for some reason. What are you going to do? And he was like, we're going to do what's best for us. Whatever it is we need to do that week, that's what we're going to do, which was the perfect answer. Don't get pigeonholed into we're going to be a power team. We're going to be blah, blah, blah. No, do what works.
I also think if we're talking about wide receivers, Kristen Ledane says in the chat, Calvin Ridley is probably the most realistic option for us right now if we're going a free agent wide receiver route, because I don't think he's going to break the bank. He's not considered to be like an elite tier. I mean, he is, but not to the point that he was when he was with Atlanta. And I think that he is that separating wide receiver that could do a lot of damage with Bryce as his quarterback. So that's kind of in our wheelhouse, if you're asking me.
There's a lot of wide receivers in this draft too.
Right.
I liked what Dan said during the press conference where people were asking, was he going to trade up into the first? And he was like, well, we have pick 32. It's literally a late first round pick. Like, I don't know if we need to trade collateral just to move up 10 spots or something for a player at this point. Because a player at number 22 is going to be pretty similar to a player at 32, to be honest. Usually it's those first 10 are separated out, or 12, and then it kind of drifts into this from pick like 12, 13, depending on the year, into about the middle of the second round. Those guys are interchangeable to me. Like you can, any of those guys might have went to the first if a team fell in love with him. So I agree with him. We don't necessarily need a first. Look at the Rams. The Rams haven't had a first round pick in like 4 years. And they're still trucking along. So at wide receiver to me might be it. I'm curious as to what happens with Icky. He's a top 10 pick. I don't want to just give up on him. But I don't know if just moving him to guard is going to be a fix either. And the secondary, we had a lot of injuries last year in the secondary, and especially to our starters, J.C. Horn, Dante Jackson. I don't think they're going to, well, it doesn't sound like they're going to keep C.J. Henderson. They didn't extend his fifth-year option or whatever, so it looks like he's going to be a free agent. Maybe they look for a cornerback, some kind of shutdown corner. Considering the division that we're in, maybe
I'm just saying, Jair Alexander is out there, and he's from Charlotte.
From Green Bay, and he's from Charlotte. So,
yeah, I would
is he a free agent?
Jair here.
Is he about to be a free agent?
I had to double check. I want to say that he's coming to this to be the last year, and I know there was like some kind of turmoil there with Green Bay.
I was about to say right there at the end, whatever the last game was. No, it was when they were here. When they came to Charlotte and played, he made himself a captain or something.
Yeah,
and called the
he got suspended the next game for it. Yeah.
Like, what is this dude doing? How do you get suspended for? Why would you think you could just walk out and be the captain and call the coin toss, and the coaches don't know what's going on? You kind of showing up people, buddy. But yeah. So, but no, I like Jair. I think he's really good. So maybe that becomes a question there. Bonus question here. And we've kind of touched on a little bit with some of these topics, but who is the priority number one? Is it defensive end Brian Burns or linebacker Frankie Luvu? And that's
good. Now let's have a debate. I've been waiting for this one. Come on now.
But
I don't know.
Whoever wants to dive in on this one first, because this is intricately layered.
Go ahead, Monty. Batter up.
Yeah, go ahead, Monty. You want to set it off? Who is priority number one?
Now, seriously, I think it could go either way. You know, you could convince me either way with this topic because I think both guys got to make a strong argument. I'm going Brian Burns. I think Brian Burns has earned his contract. I also think Brian Burns has, when healthy and winning a conducive or winning a system that isn't absolutely trash. I feel like he's been one of the better offensive or better defensive pass rushers in the league. I love Frankie Luvu to death, so again, you could convince me either way. I'm probably going Brian Burns. I think with the Vero's defense, I think if you add, once you get Shaq back, you can finally get a consistent, consistency at cornerback. I think if you can get another pass rusher, I think Brian Burns will, just make that next step like a lot of these guys here. But yeah, I mean, I would not argue. I'm not going to fight you down today, Cody, about Frankie Luvu. I think Frankie Luvu is definitely a dog, man.
Cody.
I mean, look, my thing is this. We're already so decimated at the linebacker position, specifically those two inside linebacker spots, that Shaq Thompson's getting older. To lose Frankie Luvu when he has been nothing but Mr. Consistent, when nothing around him is consistent, is absurd to me. On top of that, his contract is going to be far less than the money that Brian Burns is looking to get. Look, before the season, man, I was all about paying Brian Burns. I felt so sure that this was going to be his breakout year. And then he basically didn't. And then but kind of later go on to admit that, well, yeah, I didn't want to get hurt, so I wasn't really necessarily putting my all into it. Like, bro, that optics just doesn't read well, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're always kind of torn between, well, do we pay him all the money that we don't necessarily think that he's worth, or have to go through the issue of replacing two edge rushers? You already needed that compliment to Brian Burns. Now you're going to get rid of Brian Burns? I just think that this whole thing has handcuffed us. And I do not think that Brian Burns has earned the type of money that he is asking for. I would not pay him Myles Garrett money at this point in time. So, yeah, Frankie Luvu.
It's never even been confirmed that he's asked for that type of money either.
Right.
Now, why hasn't he been paid yet, Monty? If he's not asking for that type of money.
I mean, to be fair, the general manager that didn't pay him just got fired. So, I mean, let's be real. Yeah. You can say that the general manager here was just terrible, and that's been true. So, I mean, why you could ask a lot of things. Why do we trade your Hall of Fame talent for not a first round pick? If that's the argument that we're gonna make, I mean, there's a lot of things that we've just done terribly wrong. And it now has trickled down to now your bet, like you said, it's handcuffed us. You either lose your best. I'm gonna make the argument, bro. He's still arguably the best player on the defensive side of the ball. You arguably is one of the best players.
Derek Brown.
I mean, bro,
leaning towards
you can make just before the season started, people didn't even want Derek Brown. People were saying that they weren't even going to stand by Derek Brown.
He did turn it around this year, yeah.
I mean, so again, you can always make the argument Brian Burns is still the best player on that side of the ball. Either way, you're going to either, like you said, fill two holes at defensive end, or one hole by with losing Frankie Luvu. Again, Frankie Luvu is going to be cheaper, but Frankie Luvu is ceiling isn't higher than Brian Burns. So that's why you pay Brian Burns more. So I mean, and to be honest, you said about playing inside backer. Bro, Frankie Luvu was better as an outside backer than inside backer. He was forced to play inside backer.
I'm talking about a 3-4. If you have four linebackers, you have two edge rushers, and you got your two in the middle.
In a 3-4, he still would be used more as a pass rusher than he would be as an inside backer, though.
I mean, they were using him to hunt down the run. Like they're using him to blitz sometime, but in the middle of the defense, we don't have anyone. Shaq Thompson's getting older. Deion Jones, like that's not a long-term answer. The same thing that you're saying about defensive end is the same thing that I can say about linebacker. Now, if you let Frankie Luvu go, you're going to be looking to replace Shaq. Now you're going to be looking to replace Luvu. We haven't even replaced Luke Kuechly or Thomas Davis. Not like it could, I understand. But we haven't done anything since they were gone.
Well, it's easier to replace Luvu. I mean, look how we found Luvu. We found Luvu on a late round pick, and over a team that didn't even want him, from the Jets.
I've always thought that Luvu, ever since Dan Morgan made those dog comments at the press conference, Frankie Luvu popped in my head. I was like, that was a Dan Morgan guy. Like that was a guy that Dan Morgan found and came to Fitter and was like, "Hey, we need this guy because if you look at the way he plays and like what he is to the team, I don't think Scott Fitterer found him. I feel like Dan Morgan found him and brought him to Scott Fitterer. And I think keeping Dan actually allows them to keep both Brian Burns and Frankie Luvu. I think I saw Frankie Luvu's value on Sports Track's like $11 million a year or something like that. It's like a $45 million deal for 4 years or something. That seems doable. That seems very doable for somebody like Frankie Luvu. And then with Burns, someone had posted in the comments, because a lot of them are leaning more toward Luvu being the one that's priority number one. C3 Panther Pickle says reports was they offered a $23 million deal and he said no. That was right when Bosa was getting like 29, 32, whatever he ended up getting per, and he was getting compared to him. So
they've
already not traded anything for Burns is my problem. Like
my problem with Brian Burns is he has no secondary pass rush maneuver. He'll get to the back foot, and if he doesn't beat the tackle around the edge, like he has no get off, man. It's he wants, like Monty saying, we don't know how much money he wanted. My thing is that the reason they didn't pay him was because he was asking for a crazy amount of money. I felt they intended to pay him because that's why they didn't trade him to the Rams the 2 different times they had the opportunity to. They just wanted to pay him in the ballpark that they valued him at. And I just think that those two are the Panthers and Brian Burns are at an impasse. To me, the most reasonable answer going forward is you put the non-exclusive franchise tag on him. He plays under the tag for a year, unless someone's willing to divvy up enough draft picks for us to be able to move on from him, especially when you don't have a first-round pick as the Panthers right now. To me, that's the best option.
Monty, anything from on for that?
It's hard to say I disagree. But again, I think that your priority going into it is you go to keep, like Dan Morgan was saying, you go to keep your dogs. Like I said, before the season started, Brian Burns was absolutely the top dog that we were considering on this team. You know, you can either argue J.C. Horn, you can argue, quite a few, only a handful of guys, but Brian Burns was your guy. Feel how you feel about Brian Burns in this season. That doesn't change my opinion about him as a pass rusher. That doesn't change my opinion about the priority of keeping him as a player. Again, I'm not saying or advocating that you lose Frankie Luvu. I would like to keep both. If we can find a way to keep both, the cap is there. You got to do it. I feel like keep your strength strong. I feel like even regardless of what the difference between Brian Burns and Frankie Luvu, Brian Burns was a first-round pick, and he's been one of the one of the highest sack numbers since being drafted. Frankie Luvu was a late-round pick, and we got him, on a late, over a trade, and we just lucked into getting Frankie Luvu. So don't tell me that you can't replace Frankie Luvu. But again, I'm not trying to lose him either. So this was tough, man, because I love both players, so I would like to see both of them stay here, man.
I think the difference between the two of them is Frankie Luvu got that dog in him. That's what I think the difference is.
I can't say that Burns don't have a dog in him. It's just that Luvu's more animated, I think.
What game has he ever taken over?
What game has Frankie Luvu has never taken over a game, bro? Like let's not act like
Frankie Luvu. There are plays when Frankie is in on almost every single play.
Bro, there's games where Brian Burns has you can argue make the same thing, bro. Like,
Burns is more than
let's not make the argument. Frankie Luvu has never taken over a game. Now we've never came out of a game and said Frankie.
Okay, that's fine, but a linebacker, Monty, isn't supposed to take over a game.
That's not true.
Your star edge rusher
Your
star edge rusher is supposed to take over a game.
Why do we look at Luke Kuechly as the linebacker that we do then, bro?
That's just outside linebacker. That's comparing apples to oranges.
Kuechly was a unicorn.
You look at linebackers to dominate and lead your team, bro. We've never had a game where Frankie Luvu has dominated and led our team to a win. Stop. Let's not make that.
I do need to.
I'm saying neither has Brian Burns.
Okay,
when games are on the line, neither has Brian Burns.
So why are we making measurements for one player that we're not going to use for the other player?
Because one of them isn't asking to be paid top 5 in his position group.
That's never been confirmed, Cody. So that's what I'm saying.
That not be confirmed. What you're going to tell me that if Brian Burns was only asking for like what 21, 22
We don't-
million.
No,
And
we
the
don't know that.
Panthers
But
still
again,
said
we
no.
don't know that, man. But again, at the same
Yeah,
time,
we can
we
put it
can't
together,
go off of a speculation, and that's what you're going off of.
I want to point out something in the comments section that I'm noticing while y'all are going back and forth on this. The crowd has turned on Brian Burns like the WWE universe turned on The Rock the other night. Like
It's
like
a new day,
do not
man.
want Brian
It's a
Burns
new-
here.
Bro,
I'm
it's
seeing
a
him
new
going
day, but
through
y'all
it.
did the same thing to Derek Brown, bro. That's
It's
my
not.
point. Y'all
It's
do the
not
exact same thing to every player
2021
every year.
anymore.
And
It's
honestly,
not
they did-
2021 anymore. And Derek Brown was a monster in the middle last year, throwing dudes off of
Bro,
him.
Cody, cut it out. Because this
Burns
time
doesn't
a year
throw
ago, you
no
were
one
saying
off
that you
of
would be
him.
fine with getting Derek Brown going, bro. So stop it, bro.
No,
Like,
I never
the
said
narrative
that. I
changes
said
I'm seeing-
Derek Brown.
bro.
I said Derek Brown. I said Derek Brown needed to step up relative to the other guys that play that position, like a Dexter Lawrence, like a Quentin Williams. And guess what? This year and last year, Derek Brown did that. So, okay, now I'm going to shut my mouth about it. Brian Burns has never done that, man. He doesn't throw people off of him. He put on all that weight and he still doesn't set a physical edge. He doesn't have secondary pass rush maneuvers. It's a bridge
Bro,
too
none of
far,
that's even
man.
true, bro.
Bro, yes, it is. Tell me
It's
one
not, bro.
game
That's
that he
what, bro.
took over.
Their film don't support that. Statistics don't even support that.
Bro, the
Like, you're
film
just talking.
definitely supports that. And I got my film guys in the chat right now that can verify that.
My-
There's
my-
so
my-
many
my-
That's what I'm saying.
instances.
my
I
only
don't care if
issue
they in the
with
chat support it, bro. That's what y'all can say. Y'all can chat all about it, but y'all don't ever support it. Bro.
It's
That's
not in
just
the chat
true.
yet, but dude, we had all 22 videos
Okay,
breaking
Cody.
down and showing
Like I
Brian
said, bro,
Burns
that's
not
factual,
affecting
dog.
the play.
Well, look,
Like, it's
I'm
not
still
2021
I'm still
anymore.
stuck on the fan base. Basically, has turned on Burns, and basically they're perfectly fine with trading him out. It sounds like the same conversations that we were having with Christian McCaffrey. That's what it feels like. to me,
Exactly.
where it's like people are just tired of him not doing whatever he was advertised to
Yeah,
do,
but people were
and they'd
tired
rather
of
just
the
get
injuries,
something.
though.
They're just, yeah, but look what happened. Like he's
Bro,
offensive player of the year.
Bro,
Yeah,
it's
but
not
that's
just
a
Christian
different
McCaffrey.
scenario.
It's
And
not
honestly-
just Christian McCaffrey, bro. They did the same thing with DJ Moore. They
Yep.
did the same thing with Cam Newton at the end of his
Yep.
career, bro. They do the same thing with they did the same, bro. Honestly, if Derek Brown didn't have the year he had this year,
They would
people
still
would be
Derek
saying
Brown
the same
because they
thing.
were starting to do it last year. Yeah.
Exactly. They would be
That he was a
rooting for
bust.
Derek Brown. So
And
they
we're doing
do
it with Icky.
every
We're doing
year
Icky
with a
too,
different
although that
player.
might be justified a little bit with Icky. But all of our top like draft picks or whatever, there's always a point where we're questioning whether or not we should have them. It's almost like the fan base feels like it's better to have picks than players. Like they would much rather have,
and that's
this-
why we were 2-17 or 2
exactly.
whatever
Yeah,
last
it's almost like they'd rather have this like treasure trove of picks that could turn into something or maybe not turn. But it's the idea that they're nothing yet and we have them. They'd rather have that than Brian Burns or that.
But it's
Christian
also
McCaffrey.
like saying these guys are elite, they're top of the top, and they deserve to be paid at the top of the top. Well, okay, they're proven other places, but when they're here, McCaffrey was hurt. So nobody ever doubted that McCaffrey
Bro,
was
McCaffrey was an all-pro player.
nobody right. Nobody ever doubted that McCaffrey was him.
And
Everybody was saying that
part
if
of the
he
reason
was
why he was hurt
gonna
a lot was because of
well,
us, the way they were using him. I mean, they
okay,
weren't giving him
but
rest days.
the
and all kinds of stuff.
conversation, but the conversation would be different if McCaffrey had kept on getting hurt with San Francisco, because then it was like, okay, we moved on from a talented, injury-prone player, and then he goes out and has his best year. My thing is, if you're a defensive end in the NFL or outside linebacker, whatever, you are paid to take over games at the end of ball games when you're needed the most. Burns does not do that. There have been times this year when a tight end would block Brian Burns out of the play completely. And it's like that's not a top rusher, man.
But you
It's
said
just
at the very beginning of this part of the segment that Burns himself said that he didn't really go 100% this year out of fear of possible injury because of no contract attached to him. So maybe some of that is just Burns didn't have the same umph in his step that he would have previous years when there wasn't money on the line.
So why didn't he hold out? Why didn't he hold out?
Because he
then
wanted
you
to
would
get
have
a
been complaining
teammate.
about him holding out, bro. Stop it.
Yeah, then we would have been like, we don't want to pay him because he
I
held
wouldn't
out.
complain, but if you're gonna take plays off because you didn't get paid, then why are you even playing?
Bro, that's trash, man. Because I mean,
No, it's
again,
not
why
trash.
did you pay him again? Bro, before the season started, you even were advocating that you pay Brian Burns. So because now he didn't get paid because you had the inept general manager, you blame the player. That's trash, bro.
And
Stop.
get hurt. He did get hurt during the year and played through it. He still kept coming out and playing for a 2-17 or 2-15 team that hadn't given him his money. And really, he knew by the end of the season the whole front office was going to be in flux, so he might never get his money from the Panthers. So the fact that he continued to play through the end of the year, I'll commend him for that. I can't really sit here and say he should have been a top 5 DE this year and ignore his whole career before it. Like, I think that's the main problem. Everyone's ignoring what he did before this year. He's earned the money from his play up to this point.
One year of plus 10 sacks, and that's all it requires.
Are you paying him just for
Alex Highsmith, the edge for the Pittsburgh Steelers, already has like 2 years of over 10 sacks.
So what?
And he was like a fourth round. And he was a fourth round draft pick.
So what? He's still not graded higher than Brian Burns. So why does that even matter?
Graded by who? Graded by who, Monty? Graded by who?
The same people that grade.
No. Who doesn't have him graded higher than Brian Burns? And why does that matter? Like, one has more production than the other.
Why are we box score? All we doing is box score watching when it benefits us. Now, the only thing that you've mentioned is sacks. You don't mention anything else.
That's what I was saying. Like, is sacks the only thing you're paying for? Because Brian Burns is a monster in the run game.
That's the same thing.
Okay.
That's the same.
So what are you paying?
The number 3 total defense this year, and a lot of that's because of Brian Burns.
I push the question back onto y'all. Why are you paying him other than we have no other options?
We drafted him. He's a first-round homegrown talent that we drafted.
He's also a 2-time Pro Bowler.
Teams are coming around offering 2 first-round picks for him. He's clearly got talent. Like, it's not like we're over-evaluating the dude, but I'm not saying he's the greatest defensive end in the game today, but I'll be damned if I say he's number 15.
Right, exactly.
He's
somewhere.
I have no problem. I have no problem with the player getting played. I do have a problem when a player is wanting to be paid tops in his position and doesn't play tops in his position. No, do I know for sure what Brian Burns wanted? No. But the fact that they didn't sign him when the Panthers knew that they turned down draft picks in order to keep him in Carolina tells me that the asking price was a little bit too high. I'm allowed to read between the lines on that one.
You agreed with us turning down draft picks. So what are we talking about now, man?
I got to move it to the next topic. There's one more, and it's outside Panther world. It is Super Bowl week, and I couldn't get you guys out of here without at least getting Super Bowl predictions. 49ers, Chiefs. I know the money's with the 49ers. I think the 49ers are favored. I can't figure out why Vegas is, or maybe all the money went on the Chiefs or something. I don't know. Who do you guys got in this one? Because it looks like it's going to be a good one. I hope it's good.
I can't bet against. I can't bet against Patty Holmes, man. I just can't bet against.
Thank you. I'm done doing it. Like, I'm done betting with this dude. Like,
I feel like I don't have a dog in this fight. I feel like the Chiefs are probably going to win. However, I am pulling for the San Francisco 49ers. 1 for Christian McCaffrey, 2 for Steve Wilkes, and number 3. I think that is what you're trying to build here in Carolina. That's the offense that you're trying to build. I think that Bryce Young and Brock Purdy are similar quarterbacks in their style and what they do well. And I think that the San Francisco 49ers, like, that is the snapshot of who the Panthers are trying to become. Now, obviously, we don't have all the defensive players, but I'm pulling for them, man. I want McCaffrey to get a ring. I want Steve Wilkes to get a ring. And, I think that the Panthers are trying to be like that one day. So I'll pull for them.
People know before we got the Panthers in 96 or 95, I was a Cowboy fan. You know, here in this area, you were either probably a Redskin fan or a Cowboy fan if you grew up in North Carolina before the Panthers were here.
A lot of Steelers, too. A lot of
Steelers, yeah. So I grew up as a little kid, I was a Redskin fan. And then as I got a little bit older in the middle school and late 80s, early 90s when Jerry Jones bought the team and all that stuff, I was a big Emmitt Smith fan, so I followed him to Dallas, and then that's when I became a Dallas fan. I left Dallas once we got our own team. Because of that, I can't root for the 49ers. Like, it's like me rooting for Duke. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't, no matter how much I like Zion Williamson, I can't root for Duke to win this game. I can root for Zion, but I'm not going to root for Duke to win the game. I'll root for Zion to drop 30 on them, and they still lose. I'm kind of the same way with the 49ers. I don't really do the whole I wish that former player success. I hope they win the Super Bowl type thing. I look like you're not with us now. Like, you're literally not here. So, like, I can't root for your success. You're no longer a Panther. It doesn't affect us at all. If you win this ring, we don't get to share it. We don't get to hold it on Tuesdays. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, so I could care less if McCaffrey and Wilkes and Sam Darnold and whoever else is over there from the Panthers actually wins a ring. I'm with Monty. I've been saying it from the beginning of the playoffs. I'm done betting against Pat Mahomes. Like, I'm just done. Like, I was one of the ones in the very beginning when Pat first started in the NFL. I didn't believe what I was seeing, so I was just like basically brushing it off. Like, well, no, that's not sustainable. You can't constantly throw across your chest, across field, and make completions. You can't throw behind the back passes in the NFL. Like, you can't throw no look passes in the NFL and it works. Like, somewhere around not last year, the year before that, the run they went on that year where I think they were playing Houston, and Pat Mahomes had that run where everybody thought he was going to run out of bounds. They just kept tippy-toeing down to the sideline and ran to the end zone because nobody wanted to touch him. And like they were down like, it was like 35-7 or something nuts. And the Chiefs came back and ended up winning the game, the playoff game. It might have been the last playoff game. Deshaun Watson was the quarterback for the Texans. Yeah. From that point on, I was like, okay, I can't bet against the Chiefs. They find ways to do this in the playoffs. And Pat Mahomes has some crazy. He's like 14-3 or something in the playoffs. Yeah. Like for his career.
They're the new bad guy, man. They're the boogeyman now.
They're turning into it, yeah. But is that
turning in? Like I think they are.
Is that because of Pat Mahomes winning too much, or is that because of the whole Taylor Swift conspiracy?
Oh, here we go.
All this nonsense. I've been defending Taylor Swift the past 3 weeks. That's what the Chiefs have put me in a position where I've had to defend Taylor Swift for 3 weeks because I'm like, the girl ain't doing nothing, man. Just leave her alone. She's up.
But how mad are people going to be when the entire halftime performance by Usher? They're just going to have the camera on Taylor Swift.
On Taylor Swift singing Usher. Literally, they're going to pan to her singing.
I'm going to be disgusted. Hey, as a diehard Usher fan, I'm going to be disgusted. Brother. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm going to be upset.
Well, we're real quick bonus question before I get y'all out of here for the day. What's your favorite halftime performance of the Super Bowl ever? Because I was watching. I already know what mine is personally, but in terms of the greatest one, I'd been fighting it. But I saw a documentary on Prince on Peacock last night, and I was like, you know what? That Purple Rain performance in the rain, because I grew up in the '80s. Like Purple Rain is like my thing. For him to be playing Purple Rain on an electric guitar in a downpour in the halftime show. That might be the best one.
Yeah, Prince was probably.
I'm gonna go Beyonce, bro. Yeah, bro. I'm a low key Beehive fan.
Which one? The one in New Orleans when the electricity went out.
Yeah, like when she did the Michael Jackson tribute, like
and they did. She brought out Formation. That was
my favorite. My favorite was Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake.
That was gonna be my second one, brother.
I was at a watch party watching that, and at the time nobody was paying attention to the TV but me and one friend, and he was sitting on one end of the couch, and it's like an L-sit couch. I'm sitting way on the other. And we were the only ones watching the TV, and there's like 20 people wandering around talking. So when it happened, we were the only ones that saw it. And we both jumped up and looked at each other like, did you see that? And we were the only ones in the room. Everybody's like, what happened? What happened? This is 2004, so you can't rewind it. You can't, you know what I mean? Like,
I was all of 13 years old being like,
I was like in 6th grade, dog. And I remember like my mom covering my eyes like, oh my God, did y'all see what happened?
And it wasn't even like Detail said, wasn't even a nip. It had a sticky on it. It was the shock. It was the shock of it kind of coming out. Like you weren't expecting that on a halftime show for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because at that time, dude, that was so taboo. Like she got slandered for
her career never recovered.
It really is messed up, man. Like what happened to her after, like if you read
Justin Timberlake's career took off. Actually, if you think about it, from 2004 on, like his solo career took off. But Janet Jackson. She was supposed to be on concert right before COVID happened because she was coming through Winston-Salem. It was gonna be like her first concert tour in like 10 years or whatever. Dang. But they ended up canceling the tour. So for me personally, though, greatest Super Bowl halftime show ain't for me. Nothing's beating Dr. Dre, Snoop, Eminem, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, like that whole thing. Like, because Dre don't do stuff like that, and Dre is like. My favorite producer of all time. So to see him do something like that and to gather all those that was a halftime show for me and like my people. Like I'm 46. Like I was in college in 2003. Like when In the Club was on like that, when Shady Aftermath was like the biggest label on earth. Yeah. I'm in college. Like literally I'm living through college while it's like the soundtrack to my college. So that to me was probably the best one, but I understand if people go towards Prince and and that because I totally get it. I'm a Prince
I'm
fan.
thinking of like, I mean, it's not halftime show, but if I'm just thinking of musical performances, I'm thinking of Whitney Houston and that national anthem. I mean, like that's just bro. You could see pictures of it and get goosebumps.
You think Usher's bringing anybody with him, or is he going to pull Rihanna like last year and just do the whole thing himself? I didn't think Rihanna was going to be good, but she was actually okay.
I actually like Rihanna's performance. A lot of people said they didn't like it. I would like her performance.
I was fine with it. I kept expecting somebody to pop out, and I was like, oh no, she's doing this dolo. She's doing it by herself. Like, nope. And she was like 6 months pregnant, like while she was doing it, like floating around on those platforms or whatever. I'm wondering who would come out for Usher, maybe Jermaine Dupri or I'm trying to think.
No, man.
Diddy been on the low.
If he brings out Chris Brown, I think that may top it all because him and Chris Brown got a couple songs together as well, and they've kind of
broke into a Michael Jackson
neck and neck. Yeah, dude, that'd be dope.
That would be because see, it's all about being viral. It's all about viral moments at this point. Like, can you do something in this show that people are gonna be talking about the next day?
Right. I don't know. Having Chris Brown the year after Rihanna, that's kind of wild. I'm just saying.
Hey, that's all they're gonna talk about for like the next 3 years, bro. Now you got to do it. Now you got to do it.
Maybe so, man.
Coldplay was the when we went to the Super Bowl in 2015. It was Coldplay. It was somebody else too.
I blotted that. Yeah, it was Bruno Mars, Rihanna, and Coldplay.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. Was it Rihanna or was it Beyonce?
No, Beyonce. No, it was Beyonce, Coldplay, and Bruno Mars.
And that was not. They just didn't mesh together. So I don't know. We'll see. Usher, Rock Nation runs the halftime show. Jay-Z and them boys. So we'll see what they do there. Did you guys pick right? Me and Monty picked the Chiefs. You picked the 49ers.
Yeah, I'll pick 49ers.
All right. So we'll see here. 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl Sunday on. So it's on CBS and Paramount Plus this year. So definitely check that out there. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Appreciate everybody stopping by this morning and joining us. Make sure you go rate and subscribe. C3 Podcast, their YouTube channel. Go subscribe to them. Go subscribe to the Tobacco Road YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio, where you can catch this. You can catch other shows in the Keep Pounding Podcast Network. There's an interview with Fox Sports Chris Myers right now. That's up right there, as well as the Cat Cave. Believe in Panthers is there. Myself, Jonathan Stewart, and Skylar Callahan from Sports Illustrated weekly analysis on the Carolina Panthers and much, 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 much more. If you live in the state of North Carolina and you're a sports fan, definitely come check us out there. For Monty, for Cody, I am Dez. Again, if you're following me on my old Twitter, please don't. Go to the one that's right there. Des Johnson _3505, because the other one is trying to give you Bitcoin advice, and you don't want that. You don't want that advice. So just unfollow that one, go to this one, and we'll see you guys next time here on Embrace Debate. Keep pounding.